Welcome to the show, everybody. The Iran war is heating up. The stock market is taking a beating. Global energy supply chains are caught in the crossfire. And amidst it all, Bitcoin has actually been up 10% over the past week. So is this another fake out rally, or is Bitcoin once again a canary in the coal mine for a bigger picture? What's really happening here? Also, did Blockstream just solve the Bitcoin quantum threat? We're going to touch on that today, along with the fact that Canada is now euthanizing more humans than dogs. That's a real statistic. Anyways, drop a like on the video, strap in. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your weekly session. All right, I want to welcome to the stage my co-host with the most, Mr. Nathan Fitzsimmons, BTC mentor. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. That stat about Canada is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not even sure what to make of it. I guess we just really like dogs more than people, but hey, makes sense. There's a whole website devoted to doesthedogdie.com. Weird side tangent. I have to check it every time with the wife before we watch a movie because, you know, if it's a nice innocent person or even a child dies in a movie, totally fine. Dog dies, game over, gotta shut it off.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We're gonna get to it's man, how far we've fallen. Nonetheless, let's start on the geopolitical lens. There's a lot that's been going on lately, and there was a guy that was on a show called Breaking Points. I'm gonna bring up my screen right now. That is the wrong screen. That's my bad. I don't know why. We're learning here. It's been a long day. We'll do it live. Anyways, I'm bringing up on my screen here. There's a professor he was on a show called Breaking Points, and he talked about kind of the dynamics of Iran. He actually predicted, one, that Trump was going to win the election. He predicted, two, that the US was going to go to war with Iran, and three, the only thing that hasn't come to fruition yet, that the US would actually end up losing, or in a way losing, that war with Iran. And I'm going to let him speak for himself here. We're going to play a couple minutes of just what he had to say. Very, very interesting. Let's take a listen.
Weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire. So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they're striking the GCC countries. And not only are they striking GCC countries, American bases, they're going after the critical energy infrastructure of these bases. They block off the Strait of Hormuz. And eventually, they will go after the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations because they don't have fresh water supply. In fact, the water desalination plants provides 60% of the GCC's water supply. So if a drone, and these drones cost $50,000, if they wiped out a desalination plant in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and it's a city of 10 million people, right? They'd be out of water in 2 weeks. And right now, the Iranians have de facto closed off the Strait of Hormuz, and the GCC gets 90% of its food from the Strait of Hormuz. So I know a lot of people are talking about the disruptions to the global economy, but right now the Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. And why this is important is that the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy for the investments in the stock market. And right now we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil and they're no longer able to finance this AI bubble in the United States, then this AI bubble will burst, and with it will burst as well the entire American economy, which is really a financial Ponzi scheme. Right. So that's the dire situation that the Americans are facing right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sir.
That's a little bit crazy. You know what else is crazy? Not unmuting our mic.
It is crazy. So, I mean, he lays out here an interesting situation. Again, he says how kind of fragile a lot of the infrastructure around some of these like Saudi Arabia and everything like that, how easily it can be attacked, but also the integral part of the U.S. infrastructure or the U.S. economy, where the petrodollar is still kind of in play, even though it's starting to lapse a little bit, but they purchase oil with US dollars. They have to obtain US, it's all done through US dollars, or has been historically. We've started to move away from that, and maybe that's part of this year. But and then when they have the US dollars, when they receive US dollars for their oil, the deal is, hey, you go and reinvest it. You either are going to buy American bonds or you're going to go and invest in US companies. And again, if that goes away, like if they can't go, if they're like, well, we got other shit to deal with, and then that gets rug pulled from all, the stock market. The stock market's only being held up by a few things that are getting outside investments. So that's very scary. Nathan, before we kind of get into some of this other stuff here, any initial thoughts?
It's another reflection. It kind of reminds me of COVID a little bit, where we learned like just how fragile the supply chains were, that like any little hiccup or breakdown, the whole thing just came crashing down. And we're looking at the same system here. Like even before this, I didn't realize just how dependent on desalination plants the GCC countries were, right? The Gulf Coast countries were. And the idea like that Iran doesn't have basically some options from an economic standpoint, like he's absolutely right. I think I was reading that the Gulf, not the Gulf, the what is it, the Strait of Hormuz? I'm blanking on the proper term right there. But Hormuz, where all the oil's going through that little passageway that we got there, it was something like 450 million barrels a day or billion barrels a day. But the comparison point that stuck in my mind was it was more than the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for the U.S. And so they're like the value of oil and goods that are moving through that, not only necessary for like even AI energy and infrastructure, but then that's being sold. That global commerce is being shut down. There's no money then funneling back into the existing U.S. economy. And by economy, I mean the stock market, which is such a joke at this point as well, too. The fact that we equate those two is absolutely ridiculous. Like if the Mag 7 are doing better does not mean the economy is doing better, right? It's just people funneling in through financial games, and it's a lot of offshore money coming in too, especially as they gotten past the treasuries. So he's absolutely right. Like if like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all the Gulf Coast countries can't sell their oil, then they don't have money to reinvest. And we know that the AA companies are burning through cash like crazy. And even saw recently too, like Nvidia, I think it said they're no longer investing in Anthropic. Like it feels like we're at the point that at some point this bubble was going to pop. I think we all knew that was coming. I had a wonderful conversation with Dave Collum about this. It wasn't a matter of like, we don't know when, but at some point in time that it was coming. And this could be the very thing that kind of sets it off. As soon as there isn't additional funds constantly piling in to prop up these elevated valuations. And man, like it feels so out over the skis. Even just going back to how it feels in the current economy. Do you know what I mean? Like no one feels great right now, despite it being near kind of like all-time highs. We come off a little bit here too, but despite asset evaluations, because all fiat Ponzi money schemes going on here, no one feels great. In Canada, we're absolutely in a recession. The US, I think, is still doing okay, but like again, it's not like a thriving economy. It's not like the 90s where everyone feels like they can go out there and just find a high-paying job. They could go to the next one. Like everyone's struggling. And if we see oil prices going up and gas prices going up and energy, which is the major input to everything, going up, and we don't have that money funneling back in to prop up assets, this could all collapse very, very, very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah. And to kind of continue down this thought process, because there's a few things we're going to hit on here which you kind of tapped into. So again, this was meant to be the precedent was set with Venezuela. It's like a quick operation, in and out, so precise. It's just like done in a day, and wow, look how amazing that was. But that doesn't seem to be what's going to be playing out here. U.S. Central Command is now saying internally that this war against Iran is likely to last through September, per Politico. So it's like this is dragging out. Is this going to be like I mean, at least it looks like it's going to be to September, but this is, to touch on COVID again, it sounds a whole lot like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but this time with guns, right? Like
no, 100%. This was not Venezuela. This is not even Iraq, right? Like this is a much different situation and a much harder adversary. And they've taken out was a Khamenei, right? Like they've taken out guy in charge, but they're still fighting. They're still coming back at you. This isn't going away anytime soon. I've even seen reports that Trump would be okay with boots on the ground. Like that's a possibility. And if they're telling us now that this could likely last through to September, buckle up, we're going a lot longer than that, because they're okay saying that this is going to be months-long campaign and that boots on the ground might be necessary at this point in time. Then you can expect this to last a lot longer and have major impacts on global commerce and global trade.
Yeah, and they're pretty dead set on regime change, right? So regime change doesn't happen with drones, right? Like you don't install a new regime with drones. So like this is, I think it's going to get a lot more involved It already is, but and that has a price tag, right? Like here, defense executives plan to meet at the White House as strikes on Iran diminish the stockpiles. Key things here. It aims to accelerate weapons production after recent military operations. The Pentagon may seek around 50 billion in supplemental budget. And this is again just to kind of restock what they've been using thus far to their diminished stockpiles of weapons. So like already like a cool 50 billion. Yeah, we've fired some rockets. We got in, we took a few people out. We're gonna be there for a long time. This $50 billion, in my opinion, would be just the tippity top of the iceberg.
It's more subsidizing for the weapons manufacturers for the proof of weapons network, as our good friend Simon Dixon would say. Yeah, they're going to enrich themselves and their friends. So maybe a good time to invest in like Halliburton or Raytheon. I don't know, but I anticipate that they've got some stuff that they want to test out and some stuff that they want to buy, and they'll get the funding. And they'll get the funding the same way they always do it, just through debt.
Yeah, actually, I should wait. I should use Rumble in the chat, which yes, said Lockheed and Halliburton tokens are going to go to the moon. So,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now,
Yep.
again, this is having downstream impacts because Iran is an energy hub. Trump saying, well, he doesn't have any concern on rising gas prices, but maybe he should. Here's a tweet from Eric Natal. If the strait remains closed, we are losing. You were dead on, Nathan. 450 million barrels per month. That exceeds the entirety of the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is not some small supply interruption. This is historic in magnitude and consequence. And there's the petroleum reserves right there. But yeah, 450 million barrels per month lost by disruptions here. Now, on top of that, of course, then what happens to shipping costs? Well, we can see LNG shipping rates soar 650% from 40 grand to 300 grand per day. And who's downstream of that is the consumer. If you need energy in any way, shape, or form, that's going to be hitting you pretty quick here. So yeah, watch out. And
It's going to be crazy. And the other thing I just realized too is like, why September? Why would they pick September? If this goes into the winter, oh, Europe is screwed, right? If you have LNG, elevated energy costs and elevated LNG costs for Europe, man, they better hope that is a warm and mild winter, because they are just absolutely screwed. Of course, don't forget, like, energy is the input for everything we do. It's the input for the entire economic situation. So you can damn well expect that this is going to trickle down to basically inflation across the board. Homes, construction, goods, services, groceries, everything requires energy inputs. And if it's more expensive, your dollars are going a lot less further.
yeah, 100%. Now there's this seemed to come out of nowhere because like it was, what was it, last June they bombed and said, oh yeah, we got all of their infrastructure's gone. They don't have the capacity for nuclear anymore. There were peace talks going on for a while, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell's going on? And it's like this is a tweet from the White House. There is nothing more important than peace, and then bombs Iran 9 days later. But
Yep.
like, is it possible that uh, there was a plan all along in advance here? And here's Secretary Rubio saying the president made a very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that they would precipitate an attack against American forces, and we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties. It seems like while they were gonna hit us, so we hit them first, kind of thing. But
No,
I
correction. It seems like my friend was going to punch that guy, and that guy was then going to punch me. And so I guess I have to get in there and fight first, was kind of the
yeah,
argument.
yeah, the strung together assumptions there are pretty wild. I think there was a little bit more knowing beforehand,
Oh,
because there was another conflict that seems everybody has just completely forgotten about. That was only just a few weeks back, and that would have been Venezuela. And right now, uh, due to Iran, what's everybody worried about? Oil. What's the president not worried about? Oil. Well, oil is, quote, beginning to flow from Venezuela, Trump says. Is it possible that the Venezuela operation was actually just in preparation for Iran so that we've got easy access to oil? Like, is that in the realm of possibility, Nathan, in your mind?
Possible. That's exactly what happened. Actually, it's not entirely true. That's not entirely true. It was not only necessary to maybe secure more oil reserves for the U.S. and U.S. military that might be going on some sort of Middle East campaign again. Don't forget, it was also important, and this comes into Iran and Venezuela, to cut off China from those oil resources as well too. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach. They don't get it, and we're going to take it. But yeah, there is no way. And it's funny just how fast the media cycle goes through. They have been talking about, like, you've seen the 7 countries kind of plan. If you've gone back and seen that before, go ahead and check it out. We're on the last one. But these things, these operations are not planned in days, in weeks. These are probably months and years in the making. They knew exactly what they were going to be doing well in advance, right? So absolutely, it looks like they were securing additional resources on this side of the globe before making any other moves on that side of the globe. And it's just it's a terrible kind of thought, but just put yourself in that evil position. That's exactly what you would do, right? They're playing a giant game of chess and just risking all our lives and our money.
Yeah, exactly. And now, downstream of all this, the cracks are still kind of beginning to show in the system. A
Yep.
recent show we did, we're talking about overnight repo injections, all that kind of stuff. Well, again, Fed, oh, and I just closed my window, but the Fed just injected another 16 billion into the
Yep.
US economy. And on top of that, it's not just, government, papering things over and central bank, but we see BlackRock. So BlackRock, they just slashed the value of a private loan to Infinite Commerce Holdings, and they slashed it to 0. So this is just 3 months after assessing it at 100 cents on the dollar. So basically, apparently, last 3 months ago, it was completely above board. Now it's completely worthless. The loan, which is now worthless, marks the second sudden wipeout to recently hit BlackRock's private credit division, highlighting a key fault line in private credit. So, yeah, this is I don't know. Is so the question becomes, is Bitcoin playing the role of canary in the coal mine here? Because at a time when the stock market was getting hammered, everybody's freaking out about war. This time around, Bitcoin had a good 10% week at a time, kind of like, I would say most people were saying we're mid bear market, but it's kind of doing the inverse of what we've seen it do previously. So what are your thoughts here?
Well, honestly, like, I don't think that we're in a long-term bear market. I don't think we're going to be hanging out here for very long. I very much think we're going to continue to grind up, and then, like, within 6 months, I wouldn't be surprised to be back above 6 figures and kind of off to the races again. Because I think that Bitcoin was one Jane Street, and that was a fun one. It looks like I think the SEC might be going after them as well too. We had some price manipulation and suppression. Seems clearly at play with that 10 a.m. slam. But I also think there's an element of it is, like, to Luke Groman's point, like the last remaining smoke detector. It very well could be detecting the coming chaos and global turmoil on the horizon here. And so it was early detection. Now, my viewpoint has largely been that, well, gold largely tends to smell out like fiscal moves beforehand. Bitcoin tends to react when they actually happen. So we're starting to see it trickle back up here a little bit. I wonder if that means there is going to be some big spending in the short term. There is going to be some sort of fiscal injection or some sort of action from the Fed. We've got Kevin Warsh coming in May as well too. That's not that far away. So it's possible that we're in the early stages of Bitcoin reacting to the fiscal money that's going to start to get pumped in here. Largely, I think it was just completely, like, hugely oversold, ridiculously cheap, high value at that point. And so it could just be adjusting back up to more of like an equilibrium kind of price. But either way, whether it be through economic chaos and basically the Fed or the government needing to step in here to try and rescue the market, or from just fiscal spending on the military side finding its way into assets as well, as soon as those money spigots get turned on full, Bitcoin's going to absolutely rip. I think it's going to follow a very similar path to the COVID crash of 2020, that essentially everyone's freaking out. It's all narrative driven. They're panic. It's high liquidity. It's a smaller market compared to something like gold. It sells off. But as soon as money starts flowing back in, it rips the other way just as much.
I've also seen a lot of who is, I can't remember who tweeted it out, but like, is this a fake out, or is this a bit of a reversal?
James
And
Check.
yeah, there we go, James Check. And most of the sentiment below it was fake out, we're going lower, all of that. That makes me bullish.
Oh, absolutely.
Low-key, that makes me
Absolutely.
bullish.
Be on the opposite side of everybody else on the boat.
Yeah.
If people are still thinking that this is like we're going lower, going to 50K, I hear some ridiculous calls that they're 40K or these things too. Great, slap it on, because nobody ever thinks that we're at a top when we're at the top. That never happens. When we're at the tippy top, everyone's going, we're going to like 7 figures. I get sucked into too. I know it's a lot of fun. We're going to 7 figures. We're blowing past this. This is it. This is the super cycle. You pop the champagne, their sessions. We're off to the races. And that's the end. That's the end of the fun time. We'll come back to it later. Same thing applies to the bear market. We don't start to turn around until basically the entire market's convinced, yep, we're going lower. There's nothing better that could happen here. And that's when it starts to reverse course, right? When we've exhausted the selling side pressure.
And just so I don't jinx myself, I'm not saying for sure this is the bottom. I'm just saying that the more I see stuff like that, the more I'm like, okay, I'm feeling better, to be honest. So yeah.
I'll go out on a limb. Barring any stupid, like outrageous black swan event, I'll give myself that same cover. I'm calling bottom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to be, I will be sorely regretting that decision, and I'm sure I'll be dead wrong. So, you know, if you want to sell and buy back later, you should never do that, but I'm calling bottom.
All right. We'll see how it pans out. Now, on the other side of the break here, we're going to be touching on Blockstream has supposedly solved the quantum threat for Bitcoin. So we're going to be touching on that. We've also got Cynthia Lummis in the news again, working on trying to get Bitcoin a little bit easier to use as money. And we've got an old friend that might pop in and give us a visit. So if you're enjoying the conversation, make sure you drop a like on the video. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment for segment 2. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC Sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. One company I like pointing people to when they ask about Bitcoin mining is Abundant Mines. They were founded by Bo and Christine Turner after losing over $500,000 to broken promises in the mining industry. And they built their hosting model to remove the usual headaches. With Abundant Mines, you own your machines and keep 100% of the Bitcoin you mine. There's no revenue share, no hidden skims. Pricing is simple. One flat monthly fee covers power, parts, labor, and repairs. They also guarantee uptime. If a machine goes down, their hash rate redirect system routes hash power from their fleet, so earnings don't just stop. And every machine is insured at full replacement value. Everything is hosted in the US, powered by Hydro, and mining equipment may qualify for 100% year one bonus depreciation. Learn more at abundantmines.com/sessions. All right, we are back in, and let's hit on this this Blockstream thing here. Did they solve the quantum threat for Bitcoin? Well, let's take a look at this article over at BTC Times. Blockstream deployed post-quantum signature verification on the Liquid network and broadcast transactions using a new scheme on mainnet. So just a side note, why are we chatting about this? Well, it seems everybody and their grandmother thinks that Bitcoin is going to be dead imminently because of quantum, that it's going to just take it out, everything's going to break. I don't think many people have much of a deep dive into like the how much reality is actually in there. So I mean, Nathan,
I don't think most people could define what quantum is.
Yeah, that's very true. Nathan, you've been very skeptical of people, talking about how quantum's going to kill Bitcoin, haven't you?
Well, funny enough, it always kind of remind me of like Iran was weeks away from nuclear weapons, which again seems to not be the case. And how also the polar ice caps are going to melt, and all the polar bears are going to be living down here with us, or some shit like that. Again, it's another catastrophic narrative that is great for marketing, great for hype, great for driving fear. I'm not even sure this thing can be done outside of extremely controlled conditions and way off. I do not think it's coming as fast as people think. I think it's a lot of hype and marketing bullshit. But regardless, we still have many ways that we can adjust for it because, of course, Bitcoin is an open protocol. We can update the protocol. There are already wonderful proposals put forward, like BIP360, which is Pay to Merkle route done by Hunter Beast out there, which would correct the issues of basically public keys being exposed for long-range attacks for things like Taproot, as well as the pay to public key, P2PK. That is also from the legacy addresses that will be vulnerable. But the most important thing, which is so frustrating, is when everyone just kind of throws it like, oh, it's going to happen, right? Global warming is going to happen. Iran's going to nuke. It's going to happen. Quantum is going to take out Bitcoin. Well, one, it would take out your bank account and all your infrastructure for your cities and stuff as well, too. It's not the biggest target. And if you're using Bitcoin in the standard default way here, using native SegWit and not reusing addresses, you're already pretty hardened against it. It's not an issue. There's no public key exposed to the point of you sending a transaction, in which case they got 10 minutes to try and solve it. Good luck. Not going to happen. Not an issue.
Yeah, yeah. It's the first thing hit would be Taproot addresses. And if it was anywhere close to being able to take out those, you'd still have some warning there. It's not going to be an overnight. It's not like somebody snaps their fingers and then
No, they might get your 4-digit PIN to your bank account first.
Yes, exactly. So let's dive into this. What did Blockstream actually do? They implemented post-quantum signature verification on the Liquid network using its Simplicity smart contract language, according to an announcement from the company. The deployment includes transactions signed with a post-quantum signature scheme that are broadcast on Liquid mainnet. So it states that the transactions represent the first use of post-quantum signatures on a Bitcoin sidechain. The transactions are used to secure assets on the network, including Bitcoin and other digital assets like stablecoins, so on and so forth. So the crux of it, basically, it's a new address scheme. So the addresses look different than the old ones, kind of like legacy addresses on Bitcoin. They start with a 1. The wrapped SegWit ones start with a 3. The BEC32, they start, or the just full on SegWit ones, they start with BC1. And then there's Taproot ones as well. And
BC1Q for SegWit and BC1P for Taproot.
That's right. Yeah. And so it's just, you're looking at the first chunk of digits on the address. And yeah, there's different schemas for those. So this is another type of that, but this is on the Liquid sidechain. If you're unfamiliar, basically it's a pegged to Bitcoin, and it's more or less Bitcoin in a giant multi-sig across like a whole bunch of different key holders around the globe. And I think like
11 out of 15 federated sidechain.
11 out of 15 would have to collectively try to rug pull you in order to actually rug pull. And these are like, identifiable companies and stuff. So they've got something to lose there, definitely. But worth keeping in mind if you don't necessarily want to have your life savings on Liquid, but day-to-day transactions. Either way, why is this important? Well, because it is actually, while it's on Liquid, it can help inform what we can do on Bitcoin as well. So it says, although the deployment took place on Liquid, Blockstream said the work could inform future research related to the Bitcoin network. While quantum computers capable of breaking Bitcoin's cryptography have not yet been demonstrated, some researchers and developers view testing potential solutions on production systems as a way to better understand how quantum-resistant cryptography could eventually be implemented if needed. Now, there is a little caveat here. They did say that it covers certain things, but not all things. It said that it works for, here we go. Blockstream noted that the verifier does not make Liquid fully resistant to potential quantum attacks. So there's a few things in here you should be aware of. Several parts of the system remain secured using classical cryptography, including The Bitcoin peg mechanism, well, that's pretty fucking important. So
That's a really important one. I think that one is probably the first one we should address.
yeah, yeah. Confidential asset commitments and Liquid's block signing consensus protocol. So all very important things. They say that they're continuing research into quantum resistant alternatives for these components. Nonetheless, they're doing the research to be like, hey, this signature schema works over here just fine. This is something you could do on Bitcoin. And I'm all for that. I think that's very useful. The Liquid infrastructure is it's almost like a mirror of Bitcoin with some additional features and faster blocks and everything. But yeah, very interesting. Any thoughts here, Nathan?
I do. Let me just climb up on my soapbox here so I can bitch at some people for a minute. I hate this, and I'm so sick of this, and I'm going to start calling it Bitcoin nihilism, right? This Bitcoin nihilism, this thing that I'm not going to get into Bitcoin because the government's going to seize it one day, or they'll never allow it, or quantum's going to break it, and I'm never going to take care of my health because I might just die someday as well, too. There's no point to any of this, blah, 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 blah. Quantum, government threats, all this crap is just an excuse for someone that is too lazy or too scared or doesn't want to put in the work to actually understand to make it happen, to get Bitcoin and make it happen. It's all post hoc rationalization for something that they already want to justify doing, which is not necessarily get involved, right? No one on Twitter that's telling you that quantum is a threat actually understands what that means or believes that it is or has done any work on the subject whatsoever, or they're trying to push something else. These stories, these pieces of FUD that come up, they're just an excuse so that you can try not blame yourself for not getting involved, right? Not that I missed Bitcoin, like the government's got to shut it down at one point in time. It's all just emotional ego bullshit. That's why stay humble, stack sats is so important here. No one in the retail space, no one in normie land who says quantum's going to take it or break it, or the government's going to seize it one day. None of them have done, they just don't want to do the work. They just do not do the work. Otherwise, because they'll realize that they can't do it and it scares them, it hurts their ego, or they're too lazy, right? And that's just about it. So I'm so sick of this FUD. We're fine. We will be fine. We can adapt. Bitcoiners are the smartest, hardest working, autistic people you've ever met, okay? So don't worry about it. And when someone tells you like they're not interested or they're not going to get into Bitcoin because of quantum FUD, they're just lazy. Just write them off. Just ego is in the way. Just write them off.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. It's really hard to tell a person or have them understand something that they really have no interest in. They just want to sound like they have a good reason to not be interested, but really they're just not interested and they don't really care. So they just grab a headline. Anyways, let's jump into a couple other things here. So Senator Lummis, again, on the warpath here, she wants to eliminate capital gains on Bitcoin payments. Let's pull this up. Let's do it. Quick listen to her short clip here. And here we go. Oh, if I could.
Exemption, and the number that is being looked at by House Ways and Means and Senate Finance is right around $300 as a de minimis exemption. But the challenge is trying to figure out how you can use Bitcoin as a means of exchange without paying a capital gains tax on it. So we're trying to figure out how to weigh the appropriate way to decide when a sale of, for example, a Bitcoin should be subject to capital gains and when it should be allowed to be used as a simple means of exchange the same way we use the US dollar.
I think all the time is a good.
All the time's a great time.
Yeah.
All the time's a great time, especially if you're being private, which you should never do. But all the time's a good time as well, too. I just want to say, because I know I can hear it. I'm not even looking at the chat. I'll look at the chat in a second. I can already hear that like $300 isn't very much money. $300 is infinitely more than zero. Infinitely. We just have to start that process, and then we can just push it further and further from there. We just get a little foot in the door, and then we can take this whole thing over. This is Trojan horse approach, right? We're going to sneak in past the gates because the logistics of trying to enforce that as well too, of when you didn't have a $300 payment, but normalizing it as money is a major way. If you're using Lightning in these things too, they're not going to have any idea how much you were spending. If you start using something like a Federation or eCash on top of that as well, they're going to have no idea. So we just have to get our foot in the door and normalize it. We're going after narrative. We have to get people to go that you can use Bitcoin as money in the same way that we changed the narrative on weed, right? And basically was decriminalized de facto because it wasn't enforced. This is good. push for this. This is what we need more than the strategic reserve, more than the government buying Bitcoin. I don't want them buying Bitcoin. I want you guys buying Bitcoin or working for Bitcoin or earning Bitcoin some other way or mining Bitcoin or finding it on a little laptop you had 10 years ago. Don't care. Wherever you get it from, that's great. If it's non-KYC, even better. But this is massive because you combine this with what Square did in terms of accepting at their terminals. Again, we're going for hearts and minds, right? And by people actually starting to use it, businesses starting to receive it more and more and more. How much more did you learn about Bitcoin once you had a little, right? And if you're a merchant and you get a couple of people that can come in and accept it now or get exchange now, and they want to, well, then you might have a little bit there. Then you might start paying attention. Then you might learn something. Then you might watch a tutorial video. You should go watch a tutorial video. Ben?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. Like, just get your foot in the door. And again, once you normalize it, there's so many. Again, like, well, I was using eCash, I was using Lightning, I was using Liquid, I was using whatever. I've never, I only do transactions under $300. Why would I need to use Bitcoin for more than $300? I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, like you open it up to a lot of stuff there, and also it helps everyday people realize, like, well, what's the fucking difference if I spend $305, $350, $400? Like, I think, you just need that little, just keep the door open a smidge, and then, the crowd piles in. So I'd echo you on that.
You could also have fun with like some pre-signed transactions in these things too, because it's like $300 what per hour per day. I could pre-sign a couple transactions. I got good relationships. People trust me. Give them the file. There you go. Just drop that tomorrow for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. In news that came out, I saw a lot of people talking about this. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to mention it because people are talking about it, but I kind of don't give a shit at this point.
What? No, we have to hype up everything. This is YouTube.
Yeah, it's this Chinese EV company, Jizu. I already butchered that. Who cares? Just announced they want to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin.
I also want to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah. So they want to stack a treasury. I don't know. Is it just me? No, it's not. It's for sure not just me. Chat, let me know. Am I off base here? I don't give a shit, man.
I don't care. Well, yeah, I'm probably less enthused that the CCP is stacking Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's fair. This is a Chinese company, so
does that even exist? Does that even really exist?
Yeah, I don't know. I see a chat message I'm not gonna say, but this, I should use phone there. Is on a roll in there. Nonetheless, yeah, I mean, cool, I guess, that the Chinese government was like, yeah, sure, you're good to do that, because obviously you can't just go and announce that and not have the CCP breathing down your neck. But like, I mean, do we care anymore? Like, Saylor's been stacking, billions on the regular, like everybody and their grandmother. We had all this hype around treasury companies that went like fucking nowhere. The US was like, we've got a Bitcoin reserve. Well, we only with the coins we stole, and also the government sold half of those before. So like I don't care. I'm more excited, honestly, if, as you said before, if people in the chat are like, hey, you know what? I'm living on a Bitcoin standard. That shit is exciting. We need this grassroots. I'm going to use Bitcoin as money. Like, you can save it, but you can actually use it. That's how we get out from under this boot, and we actually begin to make a difference. So for the people in the chat that are actually using Bitcoin, good for you. Keep fucking doing that. I don't care. I'm moving on from this.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Especially because you don't want your mood or sentiment to be so tied to like market news and market cycles as well too. One thing that I'll tell you on that point that like still gets me excited, and it's so fun to do, and it's unbelievably rewarding, and everyone in the chat, go and do it too. You can do it too. You absolutely can. You got the tools and resources that are available to you. There's nothing like actually onboarding somebody. If somebody's interested and wants to learn and will take the time to sit down with you to learn how to use just a hot wallet to start out and maybe move on to hardware at some point too, it's unbelievably rewarding, and it can scale. I had one of my friends, shout out to Michelle, who I worked with to get her trained up and get her very comfortable. She was so gung-ho on Bitcoin, and her enthusiasm, it's almost like when you take a kids to like the amusement park for those that are uncles, aunts, parents, whatever, you got kids you can play with in all appropriate ways. It's like when you take kids to the amusement park or like the movies, or you show them something that you loved or a game that you loved, you get to relive that first experience through them. you get to have that moment of excitement because this is new and refreshing and something novel to them as well too. The same thing applies to Bitcoin. How excited were you when you got in and started to figure out? You can show people and you can relive those moments. You can live vicariously through them as they're starting to have things click and starting to see it work and not getting scared and realizing how empowering this is for them too. And then it goes one more layer, because I got messages from Michelle telling me that she was now going out and she was also teaching people. She was asking, like, what's your favorite? What do you like to use? It's like, this one's great. I think you did a wonderful job there. You're spot on in your explanation here. I'd maybe make a little minor adjustment. But now the people that I've shown are going out and showing more people, and I get to get pumped and excited about that with them. It's way better than some Chinese CCP controlled company wants to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin. Like, I don't want you to. Leave it for me. I really don't care at this point. I'd like the plebs to soak that up. So share it amongst each other, teach each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's where the real revolution comes in. Not some random company buying up $1 billion.
And make no mistake, we're revolutionaries.
Yes, 100%. Now, there is somebody becoming I suppose, a friend of the show, not down for the revolution. Against my better judgment, I guess he's coming back, and I guess this is a regular segment. So we're going to welcome back our Fiat correspondent, Mr. Walter Peck. Walter Peck. Walter?
Walter, yes, thank you very much. Gentlemen, Benjamin, Nathaniel, thank you very much for having me back on the show. I just want to begin by saying last week when I was on, some of your listeners rather unkindly commented about my diet and my health because I was eating cereal, which they said was a bit too sugary. I'd like to show that I can eat healthy too. This Coke is diet. So say goodbye to sugar, hello to aspartame. Thank you very much.
You're going to get that Trump physique. Very, very masculine alpha.
Yes.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Thank you, Benjamin. I assume you are in line with your partner.
Yeah, very, very happy that you're taking your health as priority number one.
Well, thank you. And priority number two is something you gentlemen said last week that I'm sorry I must take issue with when you were criticizing the UK's Online Safety Act of 2023. And I'm sorry to say, gentlemen, it protects the children. And if you two had children, perhaps you'd think a bit differently.
I mean, Nathan, you have children, right?
Yes, I do. They're making a lot of noise upstairs right now as we speak.
Yeah, I've got a couple as well. Walter, do you have children?
Kids?
Well, biologically, no, but spiritually, every child is my child because raising a child takes a village, and sirs, I am that village. Which brings me to this week's pecking order. Peck number one, children are too precious to be entrusted to just their parents, which is why they need to be protected by responsible people like the UK's elected officials, their trusted appointed leaders, and even esteemed members of the British royal family. Peck number two, the data collected will not only allow major companies like Apple to work hand in hand with the government to keep our children safe, but the increased compliance costs will make it harder for smaller, dangerous, antisocial organizations to spread verbal terrorism. Peck number three, just as it's dangerous and antisocial to self-custody your own money, it's equally as dangerous to self-custody your own words. And with the data we collect from age verification, we can more readily determine who's using the bad ones. Peck number four, with companies facing fines of up to 10% of global revenue, the UK Online Safety Act is a win-win. Less compliant economic power for bad actors like greedy non-compliant companies, and more power for good actors like selfless elected officials. And peck number five, anybody who objects to this law on the grounds of privacy is a transparency denier.
Holy moly, you've outdone yourself, Walter.
Well, thank you very much.
Now I've got to ask, is it not the responsibility of parents to ensure that their children are consuming appropriate content rather than the state?
Well, Benjamin, Nathaniel, I'm sorry to say you're already ruining our children's future with your BitCon. How could you possibly be trusted with pictures and words?
I guess, yeah. Anyways, Walter, as always, thank you for your input. Much appreciated. We're going to go to break now, and we'll see you after this. Drop a like in the video. See you guys in a sec. For a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile, AQUA Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. AQUA also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, AQUA is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download AQUA Wallet today. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, Coldcard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan. DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Coldcard Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional-grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to DEBIFI.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. All right, we're back in, and
I got to interrupt you quickly because this is the best thing ever. So quick side note, team, because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So I am the wealthiest Bitcoin podcaster out there, wealthiest one in spirit at least, because unlike every other Bitcoin podcaster out there, my wife actually watches me. And I got a text message during the commercial break from my wife relaying a message from my daughter saying, I'm not being loud. What is he talking about? So love you guys. Thanks for watching. You're not being that loud.
amazing. Well, it was great to have Walter back. He's been making the rounds on Twitter. I think he struck a nerve with some of his tweets earlier.
I saw Dan Held get mad at him.
Dan Held was not very nice to Mr. Walter Peck.
Walter.
I'm sorry. I'm such a bigot. Either way, let's move on here. We've got plenty of Canada sucks going on. Not the least of which is that Canada is indeed now euthanizing 2 times more people per year than dogs. So what year is this? Euthanasia rates for both dogs and cats are at historic lows, according to 2021 data. So around 7,600 dogs. That said, 16,000 versus 7,600 dogs in a given year. So we just congratulations, everybody. 100,000 person has now been euthanized by the government. So that's pretty neat. Nathan, how do you feel?
Well, they want to steal from you. They want to replace you with cheaper labor. They don't want you having kids, and you have to wait in an ER for 15 to 20 hours until you die. Or you can just voluntarily die, and the same day service right there. The fact, honestly, could anything be more forth-turning than what the shit that we're seeing right now? In fact, I was thinking back about even what's going on in Iran right now. I was trying to remember when was the last major event that happened, and that was around World War II. That was the end of the last forth-turning, was that previous cycle. And I am not saying that, I don't necessarily think that this is going to turn into World War III, but man, with this, it's echoing history way too much. If things escalate, they're currently, if somebody else happens to get involved, an ally of Iran's, or maybe just trigger some sort of major market event like we were talking about earlier. We're really playing with fire, and it's almost like watching a horror movie and you know that somebody's going to die and we're waiting for it to happen. I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. I don't know if it's going to be global chaos in terms of casualties and war or violence or markets or dollar or sovereign debt crisis or what's going to happen next, but I know this doesn't have a happy ending, and we're going to have to just wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what happens. This is, Canada, our national identity was more or less tied to, people think of Canada, they think of maple syrup and free healthcare. but this is where that path leads you. Maybe from both.
Yeah, fat and they kill you. You get fat and depressed and then they kill you. Welcome to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Now, things are going poorly in other realms. 45,400 businesses closed in Canada in November. Again, this is not a COVID stat. This was just this past November. We had, again, over 45,000 businesses that had to shutter their doors. The month, the year before, 47,000. So yeah, you know, not on a great trajectory. Not looking so hot.
No, and that's when I'm pretty sure like government jobs account for like 1 out of 5 of the economy, or it could be even worse than that. I just remember the stat being stupid, ridiculously high. Like we're just slowly inching towards a completely centralized economy where everybody just works for the government and they pretend to pay us and we pretend to work. Like it's ridiculous, and we are getting poorer and poorer by the week.
Yeah, exactly. And the best thing about getting poorer and poorer by the week is that we can't even afford to see how poor we are because with no budget officer installed, the office itself cannot publish any reports or accept any new requests from parliamentarians to scrutinize federal finances. We can't even afford to find out how poor we are right now. This is crazy.
This is so stupid. It's like, oh, we just won't put somebody in the role and then we don't have to do it. Haha, I tricked you. It reminds me of, I remember I was talking to like some university professor a while ago, and it was the mistake that the test was basically like you lost marks for wrong answers. And so someone submitted a blank test, making the claim that there are no wrong answers there technically, so there's no marks to be deducted. Like this is that same sort of bullshit. Like, oh no, we don't have a guy in the office, so nothing to see here, nothing to report. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Now, there's plenty to scrutinize with. Yeah, and give me a second, I'll get there. There's plenty to scrutinize with these AI companies, right? OpenAI, Anthropic, all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of worry when it comes to handing over not only your data, but like your way of thinking to these things, because people will use these as a way of finding their information. It's I'd say way more precarious situation than what we had with Google and search results, because you could at least go like far down the list and try and find stuff, or go search around, use different browsers and everything like that. But this, it's like you pay a monthly subscription so that you can have this all-knowing thing in your pocket. And when you ask it questions, there's a company on the other end that gets to decide what comes to you. And so that can be that's a dangerous thing to have. But what's more dangerous is what's being proposed by a publication here in Canada called the Globe and Mail. OpenAI has shown it cannot be trusted. Canada needs nationalized public AI. How in the fuck is that the solution to the worry of an overarching entity telling you everything you need to know? Hand it to the government? Are you crazy?
What, you're not in favor of Chat CBC? Like, this is a great idea. This is absolutely, remember the stupid Arrive app and like the vaccine passport bullshit as well too, and how much money was basically laundered and squandered on all of that? The large, giant AI companies are having to raise ungodly amounts of money to keep themselves afloat here. You think the Canadian government and the retards that run it can pull off that sort of an operation? You know, they're either going to completely screw it up, or they're just going to plug into Anthropic and just like filter everything coming in. It'll be just like Government of Canada, just a nice little like skin on top of Anthropic, and of course filtered by the the truth tellers and the informational audit coming out of the government journalists.
You know what? I think
propaganda. Sorry, that was what I was looking for.
I don't even think it'll be Anthropic, and here's why. Anthropic was the one with the gall to say, hey, we're not going to do mass surveillance on the American public, and we're not going to create automated killing machines. And for that, they basically got, they got the government saying that they're a supply chain risk, and divestment from NVIDIA, which is clearly in lockstep with the government, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Chat GPT and OpenAI, they were like, we'll do it. So like, really, ironically, even though the Globe and Mail here is saying OpenAI cannot be trusted, they're just looking for the paycheck. And if the Canadian government goes to OpenAI and says like, hey, can you be our backend, except for we need you to filter this. And if somebody asks this, we need you to feed them the CBC answer.
Oh, and don't forget the age verification, because they'll do that as well too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like it's OpenAI is, it's not that they can't be trusted. It's that they absolutely will just go for the biggest paycheck, regardless of any sort of morals whatsoever.
Do you know what's hilarious is that and I wonder how much this is happening in government now too. And those contracts can be massive. What do you want to bet? Whatever they build is just coded up by Claude. Like it's just a Claude bot operation all the way down. And someone is charging like, oh yeah, we can develop that app for you. Last time in 2021, we charged you $50 million. So it'd be 45, maybe a little bit more, because it'd be $72 million, but we can do it on time. And I think we can do it for that budget. And it's straight up just Claude bots.
It's the Canada Nationalized Public AI will just be some dude running OpenClaw on a Mac Mini.
Yep, 100%. Hey, we could submit for that contract. That's a lot of Bitcoin. There we go. Full circle. How do we get our $1 billion worth of Bitcoin? We sell AI to the Canadian government using a Mac Mini and OpenClaw.
Amazing.
Are we taking investors if anybody in the chat wants to get in on the seed round?
Yeah, amazing. Let's do it. I'm convinced this is how we stack our sats. Now one last thing I wanted to touch on here with Canada. There's this development in Vancouver. There's the Musqueam tribe. It says here, and we'll give some context, but let me read a couple things. Musqueam isn't coming for your property, but the government is acknowledging they have Aboriginal title. The BC Supreme Court ruled in the Cowichan case that Aboriginal title not only coexists, but is a senior interest that can burden the land, and key Land Title Act protections like indefeasibility don't apply against it. So just for some context, federal government is refusing to publicly release an agreement with the Musqueam Band that recognizes Aboriginal title over a vast area of Metro Vancouver, like massively densely populated, like downtown Vancouver, one of the largest cities in the country. What is perhaps most perplexing is no mainstream media outlet has even reported on the agreement. That was at the time, March 1st, so that was a few days back. But basically, like, they acknowledged like, hey, you lived here 150, 200, however many years ago, despite the fact that people actively own and sell and have mortgages and have property here, actually, despite all of those deals, it's yours technically. So, and then here, this is from the documentation. Aboriginal title is constitutionally protected Indigenous land right that existed before European settlement and before any Crown grant of fee simple title. It is considered a prior and senior interest that was never lawfully extinguished. Fee simple title becomes defeasible when Aboriginal title is recognized over the same land because the original Crown grant could not fully remove the pre-existing Aboriginal interest. As a result, and this is the kicker, the fee simple title is burdened by Aboriginal title and is subject to limitation, reconciliation obligations, potential compensation, shared use, or in some cases, partial invalidation. Basically meaning that if you own land, you don't own land. You might share land, you might owe people money for the land that you bought, or it may just be fully invalid and you don't own it at all.
We are ruled, and this includes the judiciary, the judges. We are ruled by retards, just straight up retards. That the unfortunate thing too, and I mean this with like no hate or vitriol whatsoever, this is going to cause major racial divisions at some point in time. Like, you want to have reconciliation and maybe prove conditions and have these kind of conversations. Okay, we can have a conversation about that, depending on what your prescribed option is. But like stripping the property rights of another existing group to give to an identifiable, like another ethnic group, basically within Canada, bad idea, right? Good fences make good neighbors. Understanding who's what, having clear property rights defined is how we can really build a civilization, right? they're tearing down one of the fundamental building blocks of cooperation, which is what's mine is mine and what's yours and yours, and we can voluntarily exchange. This is going to end terribly. This is going to end absolutely terribly for all parties involved.
Dude, I have to. This dude is on a roll in the chat here.
Pull it up.
I have to pull it up. Hold on. We have. I should use Rumble, so it's like an NFT. So,
It is exactly like an NFT.
Amazing. Yes, that's a perfect analogy. We could have just said Canadian government endorses NFTs. Wow. Anyways, a couple of things here I wanted to touch on. Nathan, did you hear that the U.S. House of Representatives, there's been an olive branch. They actually agreed en masse on something. This is a huge turning point. Maybe things are finally healing. Maybe the political divide is going away. It just might be the case. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just in, the U.S. House votes 357 to 65 to block the release of congressional sexual misconduct reports. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. They will be the arbiters of whether or not they are guilty, right? It is a infinitely corrupt system all the way down. Of course, whenever both parties agree, look out. Look the fuck out. That is exactly where you do not want to be. Those are the worst moments in history, is when all parties agree. Oh God. Shout out to Peter McCormick. He's on the show like a couple weeks ago. Great dude. Fun conversation.
Damn. 357 to only 65 people.
You think, because it's all theater, right? It's all just basically ugly people acting. You think they would have gotten together and been like, guys, it can't be a sweeping majority. Let's get this thing like 200, 175 or whatever the fuck the number is for splitting it down the middle. Let's try and make it look like, oh, it was really close. We were really close to releasing the congressional sexual misconduct reports. They didn't even try to hide it. All of them were just like, no chance. No, you are not going to release what happened at last year's Christmas party. Not allowed.
Unbelievable. Like, at a time when the Epstein files are at the front, you think at least.
Oh, they pulled those, by the way.
Yeah. So at a time when you think when Trump wasn't in office, the narrative was like, we need to release all these and then all of a sudden he gets back into office, we're going to release them, and then it's like, oh, it's a Democrat hoax. And everybody's like, what in the hell? And then the Democrats get on it and they're like, oh, actually, it wasn't just conspiracy theories before when Trump was talking about them. Now it's for sure, for real. And then it's like, oh, wait, it's all of us. We're all in it. And everybody's like, we gotta, you would think that the House would be like, all of my constituents are pissed about this. Like, I'm talking about like the Democrat ones. They're like, all the Democrats are out for blood from Trump because he didn't want to release them in the first place. But like just seeing that political pendulum, but then in the background they're all like, yeah, so 357 of us are for sure super guilty here, so let's make sure that none of that misconduct. Then that's everybody. That's across both parties. 65 people in that room said, you know what? We need to highlight if somebody's being a sack of crap here. The rest of them, no, let's keep a lid on that. So it is what it is.
Everything they do is a lie, right? Epstein was a Democrat hoax. We're going to release him with Pam Bondi. We got the folders. There's nothing there. What are you talking about? Okay, Massey, we'll give it up. Iran's nuclear capabilities have been completely wiped out. That was June of 2025. Oh no, they have nukes. They will just say whatever the hell they want to do what they want to do with no regard for the truth or accuracy of the people. I don't know if you have it in the links there. Do you see the one from the Israeli media?
Yes. Okay, let's bring that up. This girl, this is wild. The news, It's her. She's supposedly one of the Jews executed by the Iranian regime. She's watching the news coverage. She's like, what the hell? She films herself being like, I'm fine. I'm right here. Why is my picture on the news as somebody that was executed by Iran?
The reports of her death may have been exaggerated. They may have been a touch exaggerated. The corporate media lies, the government lies. It's all a lie. It's all to just kind of keep you under control and going in the direction that they want you to go and mad at the person they want you to be mad at.
Yeah, 100%. I want to finish out by kind of just changing gears. I just wanted to showcase something pretty cool that came out because again, we're about education here. It's fun to chat about, you know, news and current events and all that kind of stuff, but it's also good to highlight like the tools that people should be using. So I thought this was really cool. It's called NumoPay, and it turns any Android phone into an open source Bitcoin point of sale terminal. I think it might be worth showing a few people at the SAP market here when we do our circular market. You know, this is a good option. You can tap to pay, which is really cool. It takes a second. So just a quick demo. Yeah, I mean, go check it out. I actually downloaded it and just tested it out. It's pretty sweet, actually. And I think I'm going to get it. I have one of those Bitcoinized machine, like at point of sale terminals, and play around with it. But either way, really,
Love
really
to
cool.
see it. Love to see new tech in the space as well, too, right? There's always new stuff to test out and try. And, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. Is like, I'm not sure what else I need in my stack. Like, what am I missing in terms of my Bitcoin tools and resources? I got a lot of stuff available and I'm pretty happy with it. But then you see something like this. You're like, oh yeah, tap to pay would be pretty sweet, right? People are already used to using Google Pay and Apple Pay on their phones. If we can mimic that kind of environment, something familiar for them, that's a wonderful upgrade for merchant adoption. So even when you think you've seen it all, somebody else comes with something new that's even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to hear from you guys. Drop in the comments everything. What kind of wallets, what hardware, what cool new tools are you using? You know, I try and keep my eye out for everything, but sometimes some stuff gets missed. So let me know if there's things that I should be checking out, doing videos on, all that kind of stuff. Always super helpful. But with that, we're out of here. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This has been a hell of a rip. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're not already. And we'll be seeing you again. Keep eyes out for tutorials, interviews, and bitcasts, and us again next week. And we'll see you next time for your weekly session. When I first got into Bitcoin, I was overwhelmed. The jargon, the security risks, the fear that one mistake could cost everything. I remember staring at my screen and wondering, are my keys safe? Did I do this right? That experience is why I started BTC Sessions. For over a decade, this channel has helped millions of people like you learn how to use and secure Bitcoin. But I realized something. For many people, videos aren't enough. Everyone learns differently. Some need to ask questions in real time as an expert walks through their setup, their goals, and their threat model. And certain things like advanced cold storage, inheritance planning, privacy, and node or mining setups often can't be fully solved by watching another tutorial. So I built BTC Mentor. I recruited the best Bitcoin educators on the planet to work with you one-on-one. Real experts, real answers, personalized hands-on guidance tailored to your exact situation. Whether you're brand new or building a complex setup, we meet you where you're at and walk with you step by step. By the end, you don't just hope your Bitcoin is safe, you know it is. If you're ready for that level of confidence, then head to btcmentor.io and book a call with us today.